But can effectiveness be learned? Page 43 of 202. If effectiveness were a gift people were born with, the way they were born with a gift for music or a knife for painting, we would be in bad shape. For we know that only a small minority is born with great gifts in any one of these areas. We would therefore be reduced to trying to spot people with high potential of effectiveness early and to train them as best we know to develop their talent. But we could hardly hope to find enough people for the executive tasks of modern society this way. Indeed, if effectiveness were a gift, our present civilization would be highly vulnerable, if not untenable. As a civilization of large organizations, it is dependent on a large supply of people capable of being executives with a modicum of effectiveness. If effectiveness can be learned, however, the questions arise. 1. What does it consist in? 2. What does one have to learn? 3. Of what kind is the learning? 4. Is it a knowledge, and knowledge one learns in systematic form and through concepts? 5. Is it a skill which one learns as an apprentice? 6. Or is it a practice which one learns through doing the same elementary things over and over again? I have been asking these questions for a good many years. As a consultant, I work with executives in many organizations. Effectiveness is crucial to me in 2 ways. First, a consultant who by definition has no authority other than that of knowledge must himself be effective, or else he is nothing. Second, the most effective consultant depends on people within the client organization to get anything done. Their effectiveness therefore determines in the last analysis whether a consultant contributes and achieves results, or whether he is pure cost center or at best a court jester. I soon learned that there is no effective personality. The effective executives I have seen differ widely in their temperaments and their abilities, in what they do and how they do it, in their personalities, their knowledge, their interests. In fact, in almost everything that distinguishes human beings. All they have in common is the ability to get the right things done. Among the effective executives I have known and worked with, there are extroverts and aloof, retiring men, some even morbidly shy. Some are eccentrics, others painfully correct conformists. Some are fat and some are lean. Some are warriors, some are relaxed. Some drink quite heavily, others are total abstainers. Some are men of great charm and warmth, some have no more personality than a frozen mackerel. There are a few men among them who would answer to the popular conception of a leader. But equally there are colorless men who would attract no attention in a crowd. Some are scholars and serious students, others almost unlettered. Some have broad interests. Others know nothing except their own narrow area and care for little else. Some of the men are self-centered, if not indeed selfish. But there are also some who are generous of heart and mind. There are men who live only for their work and others whose main interests lie outside in community work, in their church, in the study of Chinese poetry, or in modern music. Among the effective executives I have met, there are people who use logic and analysis and others who rely mainly on perception and intuition. There are men who make decisions easily and men who suffer agonies every time they have to move. Repeat, there are men who make decisions easily and men who suffer agonies every time they have to move. Effective executives, in other words, differ as widely as physicians, high school teachers, or violinists. They differ as widely as do ineffectual ones, are indeed indistinguishable from ineffectual executives in type, personality, and talents. What all these effective executives have in common is the practices that make effective whatever they have and whatever they are. Practice is not the difference. And these practices are the same, whether the effective executive works in a business or in a government agency, as hospital administrator, or as university dean. But whenever I have found a man, no matter how great his intelligence, his industry, his imagination, or his knowledge, who fails to observe these practices, I have also found an executive deficient in effectiveness. Effectiveness, in other words, is a habit, that is, a complex of practices. And practices can always be learned. Practices are simple, deceptively so, even a 7-year-old has no difficulty in understanding a practice. But practices are always exceedingly hard to do well. They have to be acquired, as we all learn the multiplication table, that is, repeated ad nauseum until 6 times 6 equals 36 has become unthinking, conditioned reflex, and firmly ingrained habit. Practices one learns by practicing and practicing and practicing again. To every practice applies what my old piano teacher said to me in exasperation when I was a small boy. Damn an evil boy, you will never play Mozart the way Arthur Schnabel does, but there is no reason in the world why you should not play your scales the way he does. What the piano teacher forgot to add, probably because it was so obvious to her, is that even the great pianists could not play Mozart as they do unless they practiced their scales and kept on practicing them. There is, in other words, no reason why anyone with normal endowment should not acquire competence in any practice. Again, there is, in other words, no reason why anyone with normal endowment should not acquire competence in any practice. Mastery might well elude him, for this one might need special talents. But what is needed in effectiveness is competence. What is needed are the scales. These are essentially 5 such practices, 5 such habits of the mind that have to be acquired to be an effective executive. 1. Effective executives know where their time goes. They work systematically at managing the little of their time that can be brought under their control. 2. Effective executives focus on outward contribution. They gear their efforts to results rather than to work. They start out with the question, what results are expected of me, rather than with the work to be done, let alone with its techniques and tools. 3. Effective executives build on strengths, their own strengths, the strengths of their superiors, colleagues, and subordinates, and on the strengths in a situation, that is, on what they can do. They do not build on weakness. They do not start out with the things they cannot do. 4. Effective executives concentrate on the few major areas where superior performance will produce outstanding results. They force themselves to set priorities and stay with their priority decisions. They know that they have no choice but to do first things first, and second things not at all. The alternative is to get nothing done. 5. Effective executives, finally, make effective decisions. They know that this is, above all, a matter of system, of the right steps in the right sequence. They know that an effective decision is always a judgment based on dissenting opinions rather than non-consensus on the facts. And they know that to make many decisions fast means to make the wrong decisions. What is needed are few, but fundamental, decisions. What is needed is the right strategy rather than razzle-dazzle tactics. These are the elements of executive effectiveness, and these are the subjects of this book. Repeat them. 1. Effective executives know where their time goes. 2. Effective executives focus on outward contribution. 3. Effective executives build on strengths. 4. Effective executives concentrate on the few major areas where superior performance will produce outstanding results. 5. Effective executives, finally, make effective decisions. Page 46 of 202.